Hi everyone, and welcome to this new episode number 2 of Cara's Fast Natural English podcast. So, I told you last time in my very first episode where I introduced myself that I had this idea for a podcast from making a recording for one of my online learners. So, in fact, she lent me a book in English that she had read and she thought I'd like. And so I made a recording for her where I talk about my opinions on the book, on the plot, so the story in the book, the themes and the characters. So I'm going to do a podcast about that book today, but I'm not going to do it exactly the same way for you because I don't want to spoil the story. I'm not going to tell you what happens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just talk quickly about the book, so the author, the story, and why I liked it. And maybe after listening, you'll want to read it too. Just to give you an idea, I really loved this book, which is called The Girl on the Train. I thought it was unputdownable. It was literally unputdownable for me because I read all 316 pages in 24 hours. And I read half of it on a night where I was really tired. So once I started, I couldn't stop. That's why it was unputdownable. So about the book and the author. So as I said, the book is called The Girl on the Train, and it's a thriller. So a thriller is generally an exciting story. It's often to do with a crime. That is the case in this book. It's written by an author called Paula Hawkins. So in fact, she's a journalist, and this is her first book. And it's actually going to be made into a film, so I can't wait to see how they make the film. Anyway, so to give you a very brief summary of the plot or the story, so the main character in the book is a person called Rachel, and she's going through a difficult time in her life. She's got divorced, she's become an alcoholic, so it all starts out quite depressing, I guess. And every day she commutes to London from her home in the southeast of England. And she looks out of the window at her old street, and she notices that in one house there's a new couple living there. They didn't live there when she was there, and she starts to imagine things about their lives because she sees them every day, sees them outside on their terrace, and one day she sees something rather strange, and that's where all the plot and the intrigue starts to take off. Why did I like this book so much? So why am I talking to you about it? Well, I thought the writing style was fantastic. It really stimulated my imagination. The central character, she has a great role, and the conclusion for her in this book is actually quite positive. And it deals with 3 themes I thought were really interesting. So illusion, perception, and memory, in a really compelling way through the different characters and the plot of the book. So I can highly recommend this book. And even if you're learning English, I think if you've got a good intermediate level, you could read this book and it wouldn't be too difficult. That was the case for my learner. She read it fairly quickly. And so that was the last book I read, and the last book I really, really enjoyed. I would love it if you could tell me in the comments what was the last book you read in English, and let me know why you enjoyed it. And more generally, what books and authors do you read in English? It would be really nice to have some recommendations. Okay, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I'll see you next week for another one. Thanks, bye.